Hello, 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 and welcome to the Best Boss Bootcamp podcast. This is Danny Ceballos with Unleashed Consulting. Welcome, dear listener, and welcome our special guest today, Raewyn Guerrero. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Raewyn, a little bit about where she comes from and what she's going to be presenting to us and offering to us in terms of you becoming a CEO of your own health. But before I do that, I just want to get Raewyn on here. Raewyn, how you doing? Good to see you.
Hey, Danny, thank you so much for having me. I'm
Wow.
excited to be here.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. Raewyn has a lot of great information and strategies and tactics to share with us all around, again, becoming CEOs of our own health. So let me tell you a little bit about Raewyn, and then we'll go into our interview. Raewyn is a best-selling author, CBT hypnotherapist, functional medicine certified health coach, and functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner who helps high-performing people to manifest their dream lives through dream health. The wrong she's trying to right is disempowerment and the belief that sickness is normal, that aging is inevitable, and pharmaceuticals equals health. She's also trying to put out the message that the gut and the brain are connected and that the future of medicine is personalized nutrition. Yes. Her work has evolved from working with anxiety, burnout, and IBS through functional nutrition to showing people what is possible for them through the power of the mind. So once again, Raewyn, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm wondering if you want to expand on your bio anymore and tell us anything else about the work that you do or the clients that you work with, anything else that will get us going on the right path.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to share just a little bit about what brought me to this point because I think a lot of people get confused when they see, well, nutrition, burnout, like what do these two things have to do with each other? And for me, I started off in that world of learning about psychology and the mind. And then with my own catastrophic burnout back in 2016, realized that there was much more, and it wasn't just about seeing a therapist, and it wasn't just about taking pharmaceuticals. Like I had to do a lot of deep work on rebuilding what was going on with my body because my hormones weren't working, my gut wasn't working, and that's how I woke up to the gut brain connection. So there was this moment, a really pivotal moment where, I was sort of standing in my hallway on my way into work. I was working in London at the time at Canary Wharf. It was January. It was pretty cold. I had a broken ankle. I'm trying to hobble in,
Okay.
trying to do all the things. And I don't know how many people can relate to this, where they're like, it doesn't matter if you have a broken foot or not, but you have so much to get done. You don't have time to stop or slow down. And I was pushing myself and just continually pushing myself to just keep momentum going in my life, even though my body was saying, like, you need to have a moment. Like, you're nodding and
I
agree.
know
Yeah,
this. Yes. Yeah.
yes. And it's like my body's like yelling at me, like, you need to stop. And it wasn't just the broken ankle. That was sort of like the culmination of all the other things that had led up to it. And it's like I physically could not move any faster. Like I was
Wow.
physically grounded. So I had to spend some time figuring out, well, what is this here to teach me? And, I had a selfie intervention. My ex boyfriend at the time, we were living together at the time. He took a photo of me in the hall on my way to work, where I was sort of like so super stressed, like crying.
Mm.
The night before had been awful. My stomach had been in knots, and that was my turning point. Looking at that, being confronted with that selfie, that okay, my life is not panning out the way that I intended. I thought having the kick-ass job in central, working in Canary Wharf for a big multinational bank, that was going to be fulfilling, climbing up the corporate ladder. But instead, I was just more tired, more exhausted, more stressed than I'd ever been, despite thinking that I was taking really good care of myself, thinking I was eating right, thinking I was exercising twice a day and that I was doing all the right things. Because we're told, move more, eat less. And it doesn't matter what you eat once you just eat less and you count calories and all this sort of stuff. And I wasn't really sleeping a lot because I had so much in my life that was going on. Sleep was one of the things that had taken a backseat. So
Hmm.
that moment for me was the big pivotal. Oh my God, what are you doing? Am I going to be stuck like this forever, where I end up with broken bones and all that stuff? So we had to turn things around. And the way that I turned it around was I ended up on a quest. And that quest led me into understanding the gut brain connection. And at the time, I was running a well-being program. The irony does not escape me. Um,
Right.
running a well-being program, and I'm the person who's sort of like falling to pieces. And
Hmm.
it led me to functional medicine, because that was where I figured out, well, the gut and the brain are intrinsically connected, and all the stuff that was going on with my energy levels were completely connected to what I was eating, how I was eating, when I was eating, and that I needed to change that. And obviously, the state that I was eating it in was very important too. So when I say the how, because I think a lot of people think, well, if I eat a lot of vegetables, I'm going to be okay. But then sometimes, if you're in a very stressed out state, what can happen is that you eat certain healthy foods, and you'll have a reaction to it. You will bloat, you won't digest it, you won't absorb the
Oh,
nutrients
interesting.
from it properly.
Huh. Even with the right stuff, even with the right.
Even with the
Okay.
right
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So even the how was, so it was what, the when and the how, and what was best for my body as well. So that quest led me to wanting to help other people understand and demystify some of the myths that we've been told, particularly through mainstream media, that, Atkins is the best, or keto is the best, or being a vegan is the best. I wanted to help right some of those wrongs and teach people that they can actually learn what works best for them. And the way to do that is through this system that is functional medicine, which starts off from a place of data. We collect data about you. So your lab work specifically tells us things about what you can eat and what you can enjoy, rather than what the masses are being told, like, oh, you should eat more blueberries, or you should eat
Right.
more of this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as a recipient of those messages and the one size fits all message, even when it's tailored to keto or Atkins or something, I'm also, I take that in and I run with it. So I really appreciate, and it doesn't always work for a thousand reasons. And it seems to me you're hitting on exactly what needs to happen, which I'm recognizing from your bio and what you just said. It's this idea of personalized nutrition, right? So taking in all of the good data that I present to you as a client, and also all of the best practices and all that's going out there, and then figure it out based on what my needs are. Right? Am I getting that right? Okay, and so that's
Completely right. You're hitting the
that's the
nail on the head.
functionality. Okay, got it. Yeah. So and tell me, so you had a real kind of come to Jesus moment, if you will, saying
Totally.
things have got to change. And I think probably a lot of listeners have had that, but a lot of listeners have not. So, what can folks do? What are some of the signs you think that people can look for or recognize in themselves that say something needs to change or something, right? Even folks with the best of intentions that are working out, that are meditating, doing the whole nine yards. What are some of those things that people can keep an eye out for?
I think one of the first things that you can start to pay attention to is, how well are you sleeping? So
Mm,
your energy is directly connected to how well you recover, right? So I
mhm.
think a lot of people think that if they push more, that they're going to get more. But if you're not recovering well, then your energy levels are going to. So when you wake up in the morning, do you feel like you're ready to go? You're jumping out of bed, ready to go? Or are you feeling exhausted and that you need several cups of coffee or caffeine or some sort of stimulant to get you going in the morning? So paying attention to how you feel as soon as you wake up is really important. Also, paying attention to how you do throughout the day. If you feel like you need a nap in the afternoon at sort of 2 or 3 o'clock after you eat, pay attention to what you've been eating. So these are some little clues, like how well is the food that you're eating? Is it actually giving you energy, or is it sucking energy from you? Right? Because these are things that are when we say, oh, I'm really tired after 2 o'clock and I have to go to the vending machine and get it. And this was me, like, I'm just telling you my story. It was like 2 p.m., coffee and a croissant or a pain au chocolat or a Kit Kat.
Yes.
That was the thing. I kind of lived on those things, like
Yeah.
pastries, right? And most
Right.
people are guilty of that. It's like, oh, now it's time for donuts. And, in a corporate environment, the one thing that they used to love to do was provide us with lots of like little treats to keep us at our desks. And it was
Keeps
like
you working.
donuts, cookies, and everyone's like, oh, well, we need sugar for energy. I'm like, actually, you
Hmm.
don't. Like, if you actually have good, sustainable energy, you're not going to need the sugar. So that's one little clue. Like, what is giving you
Great.
energy? Is the food you're giving you energy? And what's the quality of your sleep like? So those are two
Love
things.
this.
So
Yeah, love
rest,
this.
and what kind of food are you eating? How's that fueling you? Is it actually fueling your performance, or is it making you tired?
Yeah,
So two
interesting.
two tips. And then the people that you're around, when you're around them, are they giving you energy, or are they sucking energy from you? Right? And how often are you spending time doing things that actually do give you energy? So
Yeah.
looking at your value system. And I get a lot of people who come to me and say, oh, my family is the most important thing in the world to me. I love them to pieces. But when we sit down and we actually do like an audit of where they're putting time and energy into, they're not putting time and energy into family, let's say, right? Because their
Yeah.
time and energy is being spent diverted into work, Instagram, whatever, the scrolling, stuff that actually kind of sucks energy from them rather than stuff that's restoring them. So where are you allocating energy and what's giving you energy is going to be really important from a food perspective, from a rest perspective, and also from situational, environmental perspective. What are the things that you're doing that's actually lighting you up? What's filling up your cup?
I love that. I love that. One of the things that we talk about in the work that I do with clients is to pay attention to these, we call them the 10 C's. And one of those C's is context, right? Have the importance of the context of the people that you're with, what you're putting into your body, how you're taking care, all the things that surround the work and who you are. So I very much appreciate this.
I
Uh,
love that. I love that.
yeah, thanks. So Raewyn, when you work with clients, a lot of the listeners are middle managers. There are women. There's also we're also getting listeners now that are the folks that are working with middle managers and have their best interests at heart and don't know what to do with them. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you work with clients and also what our folks can do either for themselves or for their managers and or for their managers?
That's such a good question. So I think supporting your people is probably the number one thing that you can do. And by checking in with them, finding out like, well, how are you doing? And not in a way where they feel like I'm going to be vulnerable and I might be judged for it, but a genuine care for like, are things at home okay? Are you getting enough time to do the things that are encouraging and supportive of your energy systems and your well-being? Whatever's in the office, that's another thing. Like, what are the things that are available in the office that support health and well-being and energy production? Are there enough team building activities that do that, where people are actually tuning in and checking in with each other? Is there a buddy system in place? Those are things that I think managers can do. And these are some of the things that I had done when I was running the well-being program, where we'd create buddy systems so that people would check in with each other and make sure, like, even if you don't want to fess up to your manager that I'm not doing too great, I'm not getting great sleep, but you have somebody who's close by and that you know that you've got a support system or a support network that's in place that can do that. So even setting up things like, I don't want to say mental health first aiders, but just having some sort of system or infrastructure that's built in for an anonymity where people feel like they've got a place to
Mhm,
go to,
mhm,
whether
mhm.
that is through colleagues, a peer-to-peer support network, or even through an employee assistance program. Like knowing signposting some of those things is going to be really, really useful and important for people to know that actually there is support available to me, even if it doesn't mean I have to go put my hand up and say, hey, I'm not having the greatest time. Stuff at home is hard, or stuff with my personal life, my health is not great. But making sure that people know that it's okay to prioritize their health, that they don't feel like, oh my God, I'm going to take an extra 15 minutes because I got to get to the gym and whatever, or I've got to do my meal prep. Now, hopefully, people have got this hybrid working situation where working from home means that they can prep their food, they can do things in a better way, because very often we eat for convenience and that isn't always eating for health. So taking time to meal prep and sitting and chewing and not being in front of your screen, these are really, really important things for your overall, like, again, back to energy and how you absorb food and how it's converted, because that's really, really important for energy production and for focus and for cognitive function. So I think from a managerial perspective, there's a lot that they can do to check in with employees, to signpost to the things that are available to them, and also to even create a culture or a support system, a peer-to-peer support system where they can look out for each other. I think that's really useful.
I think these are all terrific, really terrific. And I think I was going to ask you a question and you actually answered it, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I think we
Sure.
need to be succinct about it. I think even in this day and age where I think people are a lot more aware of how, my work life and my home life are not necessarily completely distinct and different. And no matter where you go, there you are kind of thing. What do you say to folks, or what can we say to folks to really, there's a compelling business argument, I think, for why this is important, right? It's not just because I think a lot of managers get caught up in, well, this is just kind of the feel good stuff and the
Mm.
forced fun and yeah, employee wellness, blah, blah, blah. But you just painted, I think, a compelling business case for this, for, right? For increasing productivity, cognitive abilities, executive functioning, all the stuff that we need our managers and our folks to be really on top of. So is there anything else that you would add to that business
Yeah, I
case?
think it's important for people to understand that, by slowing down. So we have made being busy like that becomes like, oh, if you're filling up your calendar and you're busy, 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 that means you're being productive. Are you actually, carving out time to be strategic and to
Mm,
having time and space to actually evaluate like where am I channeling energy? So I use energy, that word a lot. So and it has multiple meanings. But in terms of like where am I being my most useful? Where am I being my most valuable rather than I'm just doing a meeting for the sake of doing a meeting?
mhm,
If you can skip that, delegate it, hand it over to somebody else, send it in an email format so that you don't have to spend the time in the meeting, being very, very strategic and purposeful about what you're doing is going to and creating the space in order to evaluate that rather than starting your day with like 10 meetings, or maybe it's the other way around, maybe carving out time in the afternoon. So you top and tail your day. Either it's like you start your day and you have your most energy in the morning and you do all your meetings, and then at the end of the day you have time to reassess, well, what's working, where do I really need to be focused on? Because we get so caught up in that conveyor belt of like going from the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. And being in central London, which reminded me a lot of like I've worked in New York for like 1 week and I thought, oh my god, New York is London on steroids. It was kind of intense.
mhm.
New York City was kind of intense, and I thought London was intense. But Europeans have they're not going to start until 9. They're going to have their full hour for lunch, and they have their 5 weeks of vacation a year. But in the U.S., it's very, very different. Like there is that like we're starting work at 7. We will work through lunch. Everyone is just go, 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 and that's not sustainable. So the thing that I would love people to take away is that you need to rest as hard as you work,
Oh, I love that.
because
Yes.
yeah, you've got to rest as hard as you work. Because and when I say rest, it's not just sleep, okay? Because sometimes sleep isn't always restorative. Like sometimes you could, and that's a whole other conversation that we can have for another time. But resting as hard as you work, that's what I'm talking about. Well, what's filling your cup up? Like how much are you where's the balance for you? Right? So that would be the one thing I would say. Like if anybody has to pay attention to what they've got to do, rest for success.
I
That's
love that. Did you make that up?
yeah.
That's great. That needs to be
Yes.
trademarked. Yeah, that's
Yeah, thank
a little
you.
R right next to it. Yeah, that is good. That's rest for success. Well, let's kind of wind down on that. Raewyn, I do think you just invited, I'm going to invite you to come back and do a part 2 to this because I feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface here. But that said, I want to thank you and also ask, so if folks are interested in hearing some more about what you do and possibly working with you, can you just tell us the best place to find you and maybe what you're offering for folks, new clients?
Thanks, Danny. What I would love to do is to offer a positive reset. So it just takes you 10 minutes a day. So this is part of the resting to help you reset. 10 minutes a day. It's a little download, an MP3. It's some breathing techniques, some elevated emotions combined with some visualizations for success. And all it takes is 10 minutes a day. And we have seen where professional athletes do this for 4 minutes a day and they achieve success. So, like all your professional tennis players, footballers, soccer players, they do this type of practice because mental rehearsal is critical to success. So I have created this 10-minute because I think the breath work is really important, to combine it with the visualization. So you practice the deep breathing and then it leads you into the visualization. And I would love people to try it out. It's at raewynreset.com. RAEWYNRESET.com. So download it, 10 minutes. You can fit it into your day, block it out, schedule it, make it happen.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And can you tell folks a little bit about your coffee for clarity opportunity?
Yes. Oh, the clarity coffee. Thank you for
Yes.
reminding me. So
Yes.
I would love to invite people, if they're listening to this podcast, to mention that they've heard about me on the podcast, and there is a holiday reset bundle that I would love to invite people to. It includes 60 minutes with me where we go through whatever's going on with you at the time that you would like to work on, so you don't have to wait until the new year or wait until there's a special moment in time, that you can get started right now, combining it with a few supplements and nutraceuticals that will keep your energy levels high, your immunity robust as well, because particularly in the winter months, things can people feel a little bit depleted. So there are some nutraceuticals that are included, in addition to a personalized visualization that we will record together, as well as creating that vision for yourself in the Clarity Coffee.
That's wonderful. And that, I mean, that's such a great way to end the year, to start the year, even to do a mid-year break. So I'm wondering, is this opportunity available beyond the end of this year?
Well, I'm giving people until January 2nd to take it up.
Okay,
Yeah?
sounds good. That sounds great. All right.
Yes.
Raewyn, thank you so much. Oh, and also, can folks reach you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely. So just do a search for my name, Raewyn Guerrero, and it will come right up, the Gutsy Executive Coach.
The Gutsy Executive Coach. Excellent, excellent. Raewyn, thank you so much. It's been a real delight chatting with you, and I'm looking forward to our part two, where we can really do a better, more of a deep dive into what the Gutsy Coach can offer.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Raewyn. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Danny Ceballos with Utley's Consulting and the Best Boss Bootcamp podcast. We'll see you next time.